A world withered? 10 years without rain? Imagine a world starved of rain for a decade. Gone are the vibrant greens of forests, replaced by skeletal trees, brittle and bare. Once lush meadows transform into arid wastelands devoid of life. Rivers and lakes, once teeming with life, shrink into stagnant pools or vanish entirely. This is not a scene from a dystopian novel. It is the stark reality we face if prolonged droughts continue to grip our planet. The absence of rain for a decade would have catastrophic consequences, decimating ecosystems and jeopardizing our very survival. Forests, crucial for absorbing carbon dioxide and regulating our climate, would become tinderboxes vulnerable to devastating wildfires. Wildlife populations would plummet as habitats disappear and water sources dry up. The delicate balance of nature would be irrevocably disrupted, leaving behind a scarred and desolate landscape.
The shifting skies, climate change, and the arid future. Scientists agree. Our reliance on fossil fuels has unleashed a cascade of changes in our planet's climate system. The increased concentration of greenhouse gases traps heat, leading to a warmer atmosphere and altering weather patterns worldwide. One of the most alarming consequences is the intensification of the hydrological cycle. Warmer temperatures lead to increased evaporation, pulling moisture from the ground and intensifying droughts in already arid regions. Rainfall patterns become erratic, with prolonged dry spells punctuated by intense, often destructive downpours. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the leading international body for assessing climate change, has warned that droughts are likely to become more frequent, severe, and longer-lasting in many regions across the globe. Their projections paint a grim picture of a future where water scarcity becomes the norm, fueling conflicts, displacement, and humanitarian crises.
Parched earth, empty plates. Agriculture in crisis. Agriculture, the backbone of human civilization, depends heavily on consistent rainfall. A decade without rain would spell disaster for farmers and consumers alike. Crops would wither and die in the fields, leading to widespread crop failures and food shortages. The global food supply chain, already strained by growing populations and changing diets, would collapse under the weight of such a crisis. Prices for staple foods would skyrocket, making it impossible for millions to afford basic sustenance. Hunger and malnutrition would become rampant, particularly in developing countries that rely heavily on rain-fed agriculture. The social and economic consequences of such a scenario are too dire to contemplate. Food riots, mass migrations, and political instability would become the new normal, as nations grapple with the realities of a world without enough food.
Vanishing rivers, desperate measures, communities on the edge. Around the world, communities are already feeling the effects of prolonged droughts. In California, a years-long drought has led to water rationing, forcing farmers to leave fields fallow and residents to drastically cut back on water usage. In East Africa, a devastating drought has pushed millions to the brink of starvation, as crops fail and livestock perish. The once mighty Nile River, a lifeline for millions, is shrinking, threatening the livelihoods of farmers and fishermen who depend on its waters. These are just a few examples of the devastating toll that prolonged droughts are taking on communities worldwide. As water becomes scarcer, tensions rise, and conflicts over access to this precious resource become more likely. We are witnessing the emergence of a new era of water wars, where nations and communities fight for survival in a world increasingly defined by scarcity.
My grandfather used to tell stories about the rains. He said the monsoons were so powerful they could flood the fields in a matter of hours. Now, I stare at my parched land, our family's livelihood hanging by a thread. For 5 years, the rains have been erratic, almost non-existent. My crops have failed, our cattle are dying, we are living a nightmare.
Annika's story is not unique. Across the globe, farmers like her are bearing witness to the devastating consequences of climate change. The predictability of seasons, a cornerstone of agriculture for millennia, is gone. Farmers are left to grapple with unpredictable weather patterns, unsure of when to plant, when to harvest, and how to adapt to a future where rain is no longer a guarantee.
Despite the grim realities, there is hope. Communities around the world are developing innovative solutions to adapt to a drier future. From drought-resistant crops to rainwater harvesting systems, people are finding ways to conserve water, improve soil health, and build resilience in the face of adversity. Sustainable farming practices, such as no-till agriculture and agroforestry, are gaining traction, helping to retain moisture in the soil, reduce erosion, and sequester carbon. Cities are investing in green infrastructure, replacing concrete jungles with permeable surfaces, urban forests, and rainwater harvesting systems to replenish groundwater and mitigate the urban heat island effect.
While local solutions are crucial, addressing the root causes of climate change requires global cooperation on an unprecedented scale. We must rapidly transition away from fossil fuels and invest in renewable energy sources such as solar, wind, and geothermal. International agreements like the Paris Climate Accord provide a framework for collective action, but their effectiveness depends on the commitment and ambition of individual nations. We need bold leadership, innovative policies, and a shared understanding that the future of our planet depends on our willingness to act now. A decade without rain is a stark reminder of the fragility of our planet and the urgent need for action. But it is not a reason to despair. Human history is a testament to our resilience, our capacity for innovation, and our ability to overcome seemingly insurmountable challenges. By embracing sustainable practices, investing in green technologies, and working together across borders, we can create a future where water is cherished, ecosystems thrive, and communities flourish, even in the face of a changing climate. The path ahead will not be easy, but it is a path we must take for our own survival and for the generations to come.